Hi, welcome back to our Culture Hacker series of videos. My name's Shane Green. I'm author of this book. It's called Culture Hacker, and it really focuses on how we can improve the employee experience for having a better company culture. Today, I want to talk to you about communication, probably one of the most important tools in terms of your company and leadership effectiveness. Yet, unfortunately, I work with so many companies today where communication is now a problem. We've become so reliant on emails. Our meetings are boring and ineffective. We've got managers who think if they say something just once, everybody's going to understand it. And we've got an employee base that is more used to getting its information from the rumor mill than any credible source. I would argue today that there are more problems in the workplace as a result of faulty communication than anything else. And that's why I want to talk to you about communication. Now, the problem is that when it comes to communication, we forget, and we being owners, managers, that communication has to be all about understanding. If a person doesn't understand what you're saying, then you're not really communicating. You're in fact just making noise. What does that noise sound like? Well, think about Charlie Brown's teacher. Remember Miss Othmar? Wah, 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 wah. Unfortunately, managers, that's what you sound like to many of your staff. So here's a couple of tips to help you be more effective in your communication and to promote understanding. The first thing we've got to focus on is what happens when you speak. Well, when you're speaking, remember, keep things short and simple. Remember, get to the point, and always be considerate of timing and environment. So many times I'm amazed when I see managers speaking at the end of a day or when things are really busy and people can't really focus on what's being said. Time and environment, very important. Remember, managers, if there's something really important to say, repeat it over and over again. And then probably my most important reminder is check for understanding, using the right questions. I see managers going after they've spoken, does everybody understand? And of course, being an employee base, everybody wants to understand, so everybody nods their heads, even when they don't know what the heck you were just talking about. So use different questions. Think about a question of like, so what are you all going to do as a result of what I just said? Or, how is this going to impact you today? Make sure you listen in your own voice or get the employee to tell you in their own voice what happens next. That will really let you know whether or not you have been understood. And of course, remember when it comes time to communicate, your body language, facial expressions, tone of voice, they all send a message. So make sure they're lined up with how you're feeling and whether or not you're going to be believable. Now, when it comes to writing in your communication, particularly emails, some important rules again. First one, please, managers, owners, spell check. So many times I'm seeing these communications coming from your office and grammar and spelling has been forgotten about. It says a lot about how much you care about communication when those mistakes are so evident. The other thing you've got to focus in on is the subject line. There's probably not a more important line in all of written communication today. Make sure it's clear, make sure it's concise, because it will be the difference between your email being read today and maybe thrown in the trash or at least being read days later. So very, very important. And then if I can give you some more advice, please stop writing emails in capitals, exclamation points, and emojis. Well, at least in the professional sense. Now, remember that when it comes to communication, you also communicate by doing. Remember, actions speak louder than words. So managers, owners, the behaviors you display every day communicate more than anything else. Remember, your employees are always watching, and the expectation is for effective communication, you must lead by example. Now, communication, remember, is two-way. So one other thing I would say is remember, communication, or you communicate when listening. And that means managers, owners, that for listening you have to be approachable and available. And those two elements can be conflicting. The first of all, managers, your staff need to be able to bring you anything at any time. That's the approachability. What happens though if they bring you bad information? Do you freak out? Do you get upset? Do you abuse the messenger? You see, all of those things will lead an employee to stop bringing you information. And I would argue that it's the bad stuff that's probably the most important stuff to hear in terms of running your business. The other thing is availability. Do you have time for your staff? Many times we'll talk to employees and say that they can never get any time with their manager, and as a result, communication doesn't happen. Now, I'll also warn you that just because you give your employees time doesn't mean you're listening effectively. One of the biggest problems I've seen creep into the workplace is that managers, when they sit down with their employees, will tell them that they're listening, but they engage in multitasking, particularly on their computer or on their phones. There's probably not a bigger element that is becoming more disrespectful to staff today than the manager who is texting or doing emails while telling the employees, no, I'm truly listening to you. Don't kid yourself. No matter how good you think you are, if you're going to multitask when it comes to listening to your employees, you're not going to be effective. So these are my ideas and thoughts about how you as the manager and owner can be a more effective communicator in a personal sense. Tune in next time when I talk about how companies can do a better job communicating in terms of meetings and some social media and technology that's now available. But hey, if you like what we talk about, send me a note, shanegreen.com. Let me know what you thought, and remember, I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care. Cheers.